Tonight's presentation of Temple Football Signing Day Live is brought to you by the Philadelphia Federal Credit Union. Good evening, everyone, and welcome inside Edberg Olson Hall. I'm Kevin Kopp, and welcome to Temple's Signing Day Live. For the next hour, we are going to introduce you to the newest crop of Temple Owls signees and some mid-year transfers as well. We're going to hear from the Owls coaching staff. The head coach of the Temple Owls, Stan Drayton, will join us later in the hour, as well as offensive coordinator Danny Langsdorf, defensive coordinator DJ Elliott, and special teams coordinator Adam Shire. But without further ado, let's get right to it and introduce the newest crop of Temple 2023 signees. Diego Barajas, coming to the Temple offensive line from Alameda, California, played 2 seasons of JUCO ball at Laney College. Barajas, great size, 6'6", 300 pounds, and was first-team All-Conference at Laney College in the 2022 season as a sophomore. So not just bringing size to this Temple offensive line, but bringing some experience with 2 seasons at the JUCO level. Peter Clark, 6'6", 250 tight end out of London, England, as Temple continues their recent tradition of success bringing in international players. Peter Clark played at the NFL Academy, played tight end, wide receiver, and fullback at the NFL Academy in London for head coach Jerome Allen. He lettered for 2 seasons as he had a pair of years early in his career canceled due to COVID-19, but in the last 2 seasons, in the last season, 14 catches for 371 yards and 5 touchdowns. Mind you, those statistics are only in 5 games. He went 5-0 in his senior season, 5 touchdowns, 5 games for Peter Clark, coming across the pond from London to play here at Temple. Next up for Temple, Zaheem Coleman Frazier, wide receiver out of Sicklerville, New Jersey. Played at Timber Creek High School, great South Jersey program right across the river. Coleman, 6'0", 165, played for 4 seasons under head coach Brian Wright at Timber Creek, and he will look to step into a Temple wide receiving core that is going to look for some new blood. Jose Barbone, one of Temple's all-time leading receivers, has declared for the NFL draft, so some open spots there for Temple. You can see the work here from Coleman Frazier on special teams in the punt return game. The numbers for Coleman, 46 receptions in his junior season for 851 yards and 5 touchdowns. For his career, 76 catches, over 1,200 yards receiving for Coleman. So a multi-talented wide receiver that brings his talents from Timber Creek here to Temple. Another wide receiver for Temple, Richard Dandridge. This time not a local product, going to the fertile recruiting ground of the state of Florida. Dandridge played at Homestead Senior High School in Homestead, Florida. 5'11", 165. Played wide receiver and defensive back under head coach Philip Simpson, who was a former Temple defensive lineman, now coaching down at Homestead. Neat connection there. 4-year letter winner with 800 receiving yards, 10 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions in his sophomore and freshman seasons combined. As a junior, went for 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns, also 3 interceptions. Then as a senior, topped it 1,100 receiving yards, 14 TDs, and 4 interceptions. The lone quarterback in the incoming class for Temple is Tyler Douglas out of Ocean Township High School from Oakhurst, New Jersey. Douglas, 6'2", 195, good size. In addition to playing quarterback, played on the defensive side of the ball at Ocean Township for head coach Don Klein at the outside linebacker and safety positions. First-team All-Division his freshman, sophomore, junior seasons. In his senior year, he was second-team All-State, first-team All-State Group 3, the Shore Conference MVP, first-team All-Shore, first-team All-County, first-team All-Division for the 4th consecutive year. Also the MVP of the Freedom Division for Ocean Township. So great football state in New Jersey. Douglas will come in and obviously learn from E.J. Warner, who just completed an American Athletic Conference Rookie of the Year performance. Douglas adding some depth at QB. Preston Everhart, a wide receiver out of Dublin, Ohio. Everhart, 5'10", 170, played his high school football in the state of New Jersey at the Hun School, and as a senior, he helped lead Hun to a perfect 9-0 record. His head coach at the Hun School, Todd Smith, actually had him at running back his first 3 seasons, moved over full-time to wide receiver, and you can see what a gift he is on the outside, being able to go up, high point that football, and Everhart brings athleticism with him. You play running back, you play wide receiver in high school. Of course, you're going to get some punt return opportunities, and you get to take a look at Everhart's speed here. Also a lacrosse player, played 4 years of high school lacrosse at the Hun School as well. And Everhart will join the signee that we have previously announced, Zaheem Coleman and Richard Dandridge, a wide receiver, and also Xavier Irvin, another wide receiver joining this Temple class, 5'10", 180 out of Booker T, Washington, down in Miami, Florida. So Temple once again dips into the state of Florida for one of these speed positions, and Irvin hopes to continue that great lineage here. 5'10", 180, head coach Ice Harris down there at Booker T, Washington in Miami. In his senior season alone, Irvin registered 13 touchdowns, and you see a great catch in the back of the end zone there. Irvin also, in addition to playing football, a letter winner in track and basketball. Great athleticism, which you come to expect from the state of Florida, and Irvin adds to a deep wide receiving core. Back in the state of New Jersey now, Eric King on the offensive line, another recruit for Temple offensive line coach Chris Wiesahan. Eric King, 6'3", 300 pounds, another 300-pound plus lineman coming here to Temple. Comes out of St. Peter's Prep, where he played on both sides of the ball, offensive and defensive line in Jersey City. Head coach Rich Hansen III, 4-year letter winner, and in his senior season at St. Peter's Prep, Eric King named first team all-conference. Continuing the theme here on the offensive line, a position where you can never have too much depth, Temple brings in Melvin Ciani. Looking for length, you've got it here with Ciani, 6'6", 275 pounds. Out of Canada, Ontario, Canada, but played his high school ball in the northeastern part of the state at Wyoming Seminary. 3-year letter winner, and in his senior season, Ciani named first team all-conference. Also a basketball player, as you can imagine, a problem in the front court at the high school level, 6'6", 275. Another recruit for Temple O-line coach Chris Wiesahan. At running back, out of Tampa, Florida, Joquez Smith. Smith, 5'8", 190, played at Jesuit High School. Also a wide receiver for head coach Matt Thompson. 4-year letter winner in his freshman season. 463 yards and 8 touchdowns, and would turn it up from there as a sophomore. 1,444 yards and 18 touchdowns. And then as a junior, 1,990 yards and 30 touchdowns, leading his team to a 6A state title in his senior season. 1,437 yards and 19 touchdowns. So the numbers in high school just eye-popping for Joquez Smith. And playing in Tampa, you know he's playing against some top-flight prep-level competition, and excited to see what Smith can do for the Temple rushing attack this season. On offensive line, Kevin Terry, 6'5", 270. We're going to keep it in the state of Florida here. Clearwater Central Catholic High School in Palm Harbor, Florida. Terry played offensive and defensive line at Clearwater Central Catholic for head coach Chris Harvey. 4-year letter winner, and in Terry's senior season, FACA District 14 All-District team. Also a letter winner in track and field. Well, as we have mentioned, this was a Temple offensive line unit this year that was just beleaguered by injuries throughout the season, so you can't have too much depth. Terry is the 4th signee announced on the offensive line, but not the last, because we have number 5 right here. Last but not least, Luke Watson, the 5th offensive line signee for Chris Wiesahan in that unit. 6'5", 275, and we're keeping it here in the state of Pennsylvania, right up the road in Willow Grove. Played at St. Mark's High School in Wilmington, Delaware for head coach Joe Wright, a 3-year letter winner, and an all-state offensive tackle and defensive end and defensive tackle as both a junior and senior letter winner in basketball and track and field. Last but not least, on the offensive side of the ball for Temple, Kyle Williams, running back out of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Harrisburg High School, 6'0", 185, a wide receiver and running back at Harrisburg for head coach Cal Everett. Set the school record for receptions in his freshman season, and had a terrific last 2 years for Harrisburg as a junior. 1,600 yards, 20 touchdowns. topped those numbers as a senior, 1,900 yards and 26 TDs, first team All-State here in Pennsylvania, and he had a terrific performance in the state semifinal game. They had a win over State College. He rushed for 263 yards and scored the team's 4 touchdowns in that victory. So Williams coming from one of the preeminent powers in the state of Pennsylvania. Harrisburg coming off of a great performance as a senior. Could he be a player that makes an immediate contribution on offense for the Owls? And now we turn our attention to the defensive side of the ball, and we'll begin on the defensive line in the trenches for Gensley Auguste. Auguste, 6'5", 280, out of West Orange High School in West Orange, New Jersey. Played on both sides of the ball, as you'll often see. Defensive line and wide receiver, 6'5", 280, lining up out wide for head coach Darnell Grant at West Orange High School. As a senior, Auguste was named first team All-Conference, first team All-Group 5, and second team All-State in his senior season. So bringing some great size at 6'5", 280, and bringing some athleticism as well out of West Orange here to Philadelphia. Caleb Barnett, a unique path to Temple and to Philadelphia, originally out of Nassau in the Bahamas. Played his high school ball at Miami-Jackson High School, and Barnett will come here to the Temple secondary, 5'11", 175, and you look for speed at this level, and you talk about the state of Florida, always known for its speed and athleticism, and excited to see what Barnett can bring to the cornerback position. He was a letter winner in track and field and played defensive back at Miami-Jackson High School for head coach John Harris. On the defensive line, Conlon Green out of Irwin, Pennsylvania, Penn Trafford High School, 6'4", 265 on the defensive line. Played defensive end, tight end, long snapper, and quarterback. So there you go, batting for the cycle of offense, defense, and special teams positions. Defensive line and quarterback at Penn Trafford High School. He lettered for 3 seasons there, second team All-Conference in his sophomore season. As a junior, first team All-Conference, second team All-State, led his team to a 5A state championship with 55 tackles, 13 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and 1 fumble recovery. And then as a senior, first team All-Conference, second team All-Conference quarterback with 47 tackles, 2 sacks, and a fumble recovery. Something that we always love to see, a local product staying home. Jordan Montgomery at outside linebacker out of the city of Philadelphia. In fact, right down the road at Roman Catholic, where he played as a senior. But before that, attended Bishop McDevitt out in Wyncote, Pennsylvania, where he was a teammate of Tyrese Whitaker, who we're going to introduce to you in just a few minutes. So bringing that connection, but Montgomery playing at Roman Catholic, bringing great size, 6'2", 220 at that outside linebacker spot, a position that has really suited Temple well over the years, and Montgomery hopes to continue in that lineage. At cornerback, out of the state of Texas, as Temple expands their footprint into one of the great high school football states in the country, Richmond, Texas, by way of Blinn Junior College, Ben Osuki, 6'1", 180 at the cornerback position. This past season as a sophomore at the JUCO level for Blinn, all-conference team, 33 tackles, 25 of them solo tackles, also had an interception. As a freshman, he played 5 games for a total of 8 tackles, so you see the experience paying off, had a great improvement from his freshman to his sophomore season, brings that JUCO level experience and some great size at cornerback. In the secondary, at safety, Zael Powell, 6'1", 185 out of Newark, New Jersey. Played at Paramus Catholic High School for head coach Greg Russo, who's also a quarterback and wide receiver in addition to playing safety. 3-year letter winner as a freshman, over 1,000 yards from scrimmage and 8 touchdowns. But as a junior, second team all-conference as a defensive back, and also a track and field athlete, which is always something you want to hear out of your secondary, to see the speed, and you can see the pursuit here from Powell with the big tackle in the flat, and he will add to a Temple secondary and to be joined out there by Darrell Sweeting, cornerback, 5'10", 175, back in the state of Florida, which has really paid dividends for Temple in this recruiting class. North Palm Beach and the Benjamin School. Sweeting played for head coach Eric Kessler, 4-year letter winner as both a sophomore and junior all-county second team, and then in his senior season, all-county first team, allowed only one completion all year as a defensive back, and you're getting to see what he can do here as an athlete in the punt return game. Sweeting with excellent speed, just running by guys on his way up the field en route to a touchdown. Also a letter winner in track and field, which shouldn't shock you, and basketball, and the Responsible Student Award winner at the Benjamin School as well. So Darryl Sweeting adding to the depth that we have seen at the cornerback position with Ben Osuki, the JUCO transfer, and Caleb Barnett, another incoming cornerback out of the state of Florida. And last but not least, the final signee that we're announcing tonight on the defensive line, Tyrese Whitaker, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, another local kid right out of Northeast, 6'2", 230. Played football for Northeast as a senior, but before that, as we mentioned, he played at Bishop McDevitt, where he was a teammate of Jordan Montgomery. So Montgomery comes in as an outside linebacker. Whitaker comes in as a defensive lineman, and hopefully those two can rekindle their connection from their high school days and bring it with them here to Temple. Welcome back, everyone. We are here on Signing Day Live, and we are now joined by Temple Offensive Coordinator Danny Langsdorf. Coach, thanks for taking some time, and congratulations on surviving Signing Day.
Yeah, we finally got through it. That's a good feeling.
I'm sure. And, you know, it's funny to go back about 10 months to last February, the last time we were sitting here in this space. Vastly different experience, I'm sure, as a staff to come in last year and having to just get boots on the ground. You're trying to get, Coach Drayton's trying to put a staff together. You guys are trying to get through signing day. It almost felt like triage a little bit. Now to have a full cycle, a full year to really build this class, can you give some sense of just kind of what a difference that makes for you and for this staff?
Yeah, you're just, last year, just racing to get that class together, and you don't even know where you're going half the time. You're going to new schools and new people. It's really kind of hair on fire. This year you got a chance to, you kind of met some of these guys already, been to the schools, know where you're going, and that makes that a lot more comfortable in terms of building the relationships and finding guys.
Well, the proof of what signing day can mean, you look no further than, an E.J. Warner, right, who comes in last year. And obviously, the name grabbed some attention, but nobody was going to sit there at that point and say, oh, yeah, we're probably looking at the American Athletic Conference Rookie of the Year to see what he came out and did as a true freshman. Shows that, some of these names, hopefully, that we talk about can be ones that in less than a year's time are making a real difference for you out on the field.
Yeah, we're hoping for that. We tell all those kids that you need to be ready to play. We don't promise them anything, but when we're recruiting them, that's part of the pitch. Is you got a chance to come in here and contribute right away, and look at what EJ did, and that can be used. So I think that's an important thing to keep continuing to build your roster and create competition and get those young guys playing early.
Well, speaking of EJ, obviously he got many of the headlines, but you look at the offense as a whole, especially down the stretch. You look at that stretch of South Florida, Houston, East Carolina in the very last game of the season. You guys found yourselves in some knockdown, drag-out, shootout type games that we haven't seen here in a while. I know there was some inconsistency and some games where scoring was tough to come by, but when you look at the overall breadth of work in 2022, what are some of the positives that you're kind of looking to build on as we head into next year?
Yeah, I think that last half of the season, the production was much better. I think. And there's growing pains in a new system, early on. And I thought we did a better job taking care of the ball. We didn't turn it over as much as we did early in the season. I think the Cincinnati game was a little bit of a blip in the radar where we didn't play very well because of those turnovers. But I thought we took care of the ball better, and then we were able to score points. Last half of the season when we had both tight ends healthy, much more productive. We still need to run the ball better, but we had some games where we could really throw it on some teams and score a lot of points. So we got to continue to do that and help the defense with long drives and play complementary football. But I do think the trajectory was much better at the second half of the season.
All right, well, we have been introduced to the signing class already, but more important is to get your perspective on these guys and to really hear from a coach's perspective what we hope this signing class can bring. So let's get right to it, and let's start on the offensive line with Diego Barajas.
Diego's long, lean kid out of Laney College. We've got a connection there. A friend of mine is the head coach at Laney and turned us on to him. But he is, he's a tackle type of build that we're excited about. His toughness and his size and his length especially.
Well, Temple has had a great international tradition, and we hope continuing that at the tight end spot. Peter Clark out of London.
Yeah, NFL Academy. That's a group that is basically like a European all-star team. I think he had 5 touchdowns in 5 games. He's a scoring machine that way. He's good average. But excited about him in that tight end position.
All right, at the wide receiver position here out of Timber Creek, Zaheem Coleman-Frazier.
Yeah, Zaheem has got exceptional speed. He's a track guy, a sectional champion in the 100. He can really fly. You can see that on the film. Excited about him and being able to run by people.
All right, keeping it at the wide receiver spot, how about Richard Dandridge?
Yeah, Richard is a kid that from Homestead that we've been really excited about. Productive. We had some help. His coach was a Temple grad that helped us with him. And you're talking about a guy that can run routes, catch the ball, win one-on-one coverage. Excited about him. And again, with all these receivers, we've got some holes to fill there, and we're trying to get some young guys to come in and play.
All right, one quarterback in the class, and that is Tyler Douglas.
Yeah, Tyler's been with us for a long time. Was a player of the year in their conference. He can run, he can throw. Very excited about him. He's smart. He's just what we were looking for, and he's excited to work with EJ. I think that's what's neat about him is it's going to be a competition, but he's also very excited just to getting to know him and learn from him.
All right, keeping it in the state of New Jersey, back at wide receiver, Preston Everhart.
Yeah, Preston's really an athletic lacrosse player, 2-sport athlete. He can dunk, all the stuff that non-football related, but he's exciting. He's a bulldog. He's a returner. He's a playmaker.
All right, part of what is a very deep wide receiver group here, Xavier Irvin out of Booker T. Washington.
Yeah, he plays in a very, very good program down there in Booker T. And played both ways. He's played some defense also. I mean, he's a 2-way athlete. You can see on the film he can run and catch. Great route runner, good hands. I'm excited about him.
All right, back on the offensive line, Eric King.
Eric's a big, stout, strong. He's probably going to be a guard for us. But a lot of power, a lot of strength. Big weight room guy. He wears that 300 pounds very well.
All right, on the offensive line as well, Melvin Ciani.
Yeah, Melvin's a kid from Wyoming Seminary up there in Scranton, which I'm starting to become a better Pennsylvania geography guy, but being a big Office fan, of course. But
sure.
He's interesting story being out of Hamilton, Ontario, and with our ties to the Canadian Football League, it's kind of fun talking about that league with those guys. But he's a really young, raw, long, athletic lineman that we're excited about at tackle.
All right, well, you mentioned the importance of rushing the ball. We got a couple of running backs. The first of them is Joquez Smith.
Yeah, Joe had a really, really great season. I think he had 1,400 yards, 19 touchdowns. They lost in the semifinal, but on a very good team. They lost the semifinal to the team that won it all down there. But he is powerful. He's got quickness. He's got durability. Very, very productive back for us, and we're excited about him coming in.
All right, back to the O-line. A couple more here. Kevin Terry.
Yeah, Kevin's got length that we're looking for. Again, kind of a tackle body out of Clearwater Catholic, and he's a kid that we identified last spring. Same school as London Hall. Those kids were able we've been able to have a good relationship with that program, and therefore you're able to see more of those guys developing. He's going to be exciting for us at tackle too.
All right, last one on the O-line is Luke Watson.
Yeah, Luke is a kid that, basketball player, really athletic. You'll see on the film he's running the ball, for scoring at the fullback spot. but he is a kid that has put on some good weight lately. Was really lean, but he's just gotten better and better in the weight room. We're looking for big things from him at tackle too.
All right, and rounding out the high school group here is running back out of Harrisburg, Kyle Williams. Yeah,
Kyle, they ended up losing the state championship to St. Joe's, but he had, I think, 26 touchdowns. He was first team All-State. Really exciting. The kid can run, he can catch, you can put him at receiver, you can put him in the backfield. He's kind of an all-purpose guy. We got a lot of fun stuff coming with him.
All right, so as you look at it, you look at the trajectory, and as we said, really starting to put the pieces together in the second half of last season. Now you bring this group in, you've got the full off season to work through, you've got camp, another year to implement this system the way you want to. What are your hopes and your expectations for what Temple can look like offensively in 2023?
Yeah, I think continuing to be explosive. I think that we have to be able to run the ball, and we want to be able to run the ball in a physical running game. But continue to have the growth that we did in the passing game. I think you saw us become more explosive that second half of the season, use those tight ends a little bit more. We can get some of these young receivers going that we're bringing in. I think we're going to have weapons on the perimeter, and as long as we can continue to build that offensive line and that mindset up front about being able to run the ball and protect, we're gonna have a good group.
Well, Coach, congratulations on the signing class. Best of luck as you head into the offseason, spring ball, and we'll look forward to seeing you back out there in the fall.
Appreciate it.
All right, well, as we mentioned, E.J. Warner made quite a name for himself as a freshman, the American Athletic Conference Rookie of the Year. We caught up with E.J. to talk about his impressive debut season here in Philadelphia. Let's take a look.
Pump fake by Warner toward the end zone. He's got a man. Touchdown! Temple David Martin Robinson, and the Owls are in front of 45-42.
Coming in as a freshman, wasn't really sure how much I was going to get to play, if I was going to get an opportunity. But once I did, I was confident that I could do what I did, and confident in my abilities to go out there and play the game I love. So it was just awesome. I'm just so grateful for the opportunity to go out there and play with these guys my first year and play this season, and just getting better every single day, working in practice, and then showing it in the games. Every single time I stepped on the field, my confidence grew. Just adjusting to the speed of the game, adjusting to our players, getting chemistry with our guys, staying in the pocket, throwing to my receivers and stuff like that. So it was just fun to kind of go out there every single game and just play and do what I love to do, and just gain confidence through that and through my teammates throughout the season. I think we got better and better every single game, and hopefully we can just carry it off into this offseason and into next year. Coming as a freshman, I didn't want to come in and be that vocal guy right away. I just kind of wanted to lead by example, show this team that I'm willing to put in the work to be the guy. I think I always just want to never step off a field knowing that I could have done more to prepare and help my team win the game. So I'm just always in here getting as much work as I can, working as hard as possible on the field during practice, and just hopefully showing out there in the games.
The Rookie of the Year went to Temple quarterback E.J. Warner. The freshman capped off his season with 3,028 passing yards and holds the record for most passing yards by a freshman in program history. Yeah,
it was awesome. I'm not a huge self-rewards guy. It's definitely more about the team and more about wins. But it was cool to just kind of be recognized for what I did and just share that moment with my family. I got to call them, and my dad was all excited, mom was all excited, even though they don't really care what I do on the field. But they would know that it meant something to me and that I got rewarded for what I did on the field. It was just a cool moment. Just grateful for this opportunity that I got to be out there with the team, and just it was cool. As soon as I came out on my visit, just fell in love with the place, fell in love with the coaching staff and Coach Drayton's vision for the place and the team. It's just been fun to just kind of come out here and grow through both of our first seasons, just kind of the ups and downs and just learning throughout the way. So it's been awesome to have this opportunity to kind of come in and be with them, and just, hopefully we can work throughout the offseason and continue to grow this place.
Welcome back, everyone. We are here on Signing Day Live. I'm joined now by Temple Defensive Coordinator DJ Elliott. Coach, thanks for taking some time to join us here.
You bet. I'm glad to be here.
All right. Well, obviously, as we have said, it has been a whirlwind, and a congratulations to you and this staff on completing a successful signing day. I'm sure it feels good after all the chaos and the run-up to this to be able to get a little bit of time to breathe, right?
It does. It does. We've had a great run. We've got some great recruits, and we're excited about these guys.
All right. Well, tell me, this has been kind of one of our themes today, is the difference that a year makes, right? You come in as a staff and are really just kind of hitting the ground running last year. We were talking about the February signing period, trying to pick up some guys there. To be able to have a full cycle, to go through this season, be able to build a class over the course of 12 months, how much of a difference did that make in putting this group together?
Well, it made a tremendous amount. One, I know the team, right? When I came in last year, I really didn't even know what we had. I know the players, I know the city, I know the university. So it enabled me to pick the right player that fit our system and fit our program, but it also enabled me to sell it better. And this class I'm very excited about, and we've got some great players.
Well, before we dig in, I know we've gotten a chance to hear those names, and we're going to get your coach's perspective on it, but I do want to talk a little bit about the season, going through it for the first time. Obviously, this defense had a couple of really standout performers, a couple of standout performances in games, and I'm just wondering now, kind of having a little bit of time, a little bit of distance from it to reflect on this season, kind of your overall impressions of the Temple defense in 2022.
Well, we made some huge strides. We were nationally ranked, I think, in 4 categories, and we had some games where we played dominant defense. And I was really proud of the effort of the players and the buy-in that they had and what we were trying to get them to accomplish. And I think that the future is bright. Almost everybody's back. Second year in a system. We made some mistakes at times in games last year that we're not going to make next year. We've got those reps, we have that experience, and we've got a great system, and we've got great players in place to win.
Well, and to that end, does it allow you to kind of, as you said, shape this class a little bit differently? Because you have a freshman All-American in Jalen McMurray. You have, a player capable of disrupting a game in Leighton Jordan. And now do you kind of understand, was it easier to kind of tailor some of these pieces that you were looking for around the strengths that you know are on that unit?
Definitely. We had to find out what we had last year, and we had to find out what they could do. And we tried to put the players in the best position to make plays based on their skill set. We have a much better understanding of who we are and which players can make which plays in which situations, and we're going to build off of that.
All right, well, to that end, let's get to it. Let's dig in on some film here and get your perspective from the coach's standpoint of what these new Temple Owls are going to bring. And I want to begin on the defensive line with Gently Auguste.
Well, Gently is a tremendous athlete. He's 6'5", 270 pounds. A defensive lineman that is very disruptive. Was at the top of our board from the beginning in recruiting. Visited us, really liked it. Can see himself playing here and developing here under Coach Smith and within our system. He's got a huge upside. This guy, hasn't played a lot of football, okay, but he has the skill set to be a great player, to be a type of player that I think can go on and play for a long time, and we're very excited to have him.
How about at the cornerback spot, Caleb Barnett?
Caleb Barnett, interestingly, is from the Bahamas. And so when he visited and when his family visited, they had the most winter clothes on that I've ever seen anybody wear on a visit to Philadelphia. But with that said, he has tremendous speed. He played 2 years in Miami. He ran track. I think he ran a 10.7 100 meters. He played at the highest level there at Miami-Jackson against some of the best talent in the country. He was very successful. He visited here 5 times. He took 5 visits here, 1 official visit and 4 unofficial visits here during the course of the year. So he was serious about Temple, and we're glad to have him.
Awesome. How about back on the defensive line, Conlon Green?
Conlon Green may be the first defensive lineman that I've ever signed that also played quarterback. Okay, he's a big body guy that can somehow sit back there and zip that football. He's about 270 pounds. He came to our camp this summer and lit it up. Officially visited us in the summer. He's from the Pittsburgh area and committed and has stayed committed throughout the process. Even though many people have recruited him, he's been Temple through and through from the beginning. He's going to be a great addition for us.
Is that one you can fight with Coach Langsdorf over for some special jumbo packages?
There's no doubt, especially 3rd and 1. He may be in there.
All right, how about at the inside linebacker spot, Jordan Montgomery?
Jordan Montgomery is a Philly kid, so he's staying home, and he was very highly recruited, multiple Power 5 offers, was at the top of our board from the beginning. He came to camp with the old staff, and they offered him, okay? So he was impressive as a young player to many people. We had him on campus multiple times, and he wants to stay home, and he wants to play for Temple, and he's going to be a great player for us.
All right, back in the secondary now, starting at cornerback, JUCO transfer Ben Osuki.
Ben was at the top of our board for our JUCO transfers, and Ben was very highly recruited, had multiple offers. He took all 5 visits and selected Temple. And he's going to be a great addition for us. Ben is a very good student. Ben was a high school senior during COVID 2020, and so he's excited. You know, a lot of those guys during the COVID year missed out on a big part of the recruiting process. You know, they couldn't leave their house, couldn't visit any campuses. So this guy took 5 visits and chose Temple because of what he sees here and what he thinks he can be here. And he's excited to be here, and we're excited to have him.
All right, keeping it in the secondary, over at the safety position from Jersey, Ziel Powell.
Ziel Powell committed to us this summer. Ziel was on campus a lot as well. Ziel was at the top of our board as a high school kid. Ziel's a multi-sport athlete as well. He runs 2,200, 200 meters. He's run as fast as a 10.8, 100 meters. He's played multiple positions there for Paramus Catholic. And he's a guy that brings not only tremendous speed and athleticism and size, but he's got a big personality. Okay, so he's a great addition to our team. All
right, and at the cornerback spot, Daryl Sweeting.
Daryl Sweeting visited us this summer, is from Florida, went to the Benjamin School, is a multi-sport athlete, basketball and track as well. He also plays receiver for the Benjamin School. He had, I think, 15 touchdown catches this year for the Benjamin School. So I love a corner with great hands. You know what I mean? That's going to improve your interceptions. But he's been on the top of our board from the beginning. He visited multiple places and has decided to come to Temple over many schools, and we're glad to have him.
Last but not least on the incoming high schoolers, Tyrese Whitaker out of Northeast.
So another Philly kid. You know, we really did well in Philadelphia this year, and I think that these guys can see what Temple is becoming better than anybody because it's in their backyard. They see it every single day. Actually, he and Jordan Montgomery played high school football together at McDevitt before it shut down, and so they then split up and went to different high schools after the school shut down. But you know, those are 2 really good players that are right here in our backyard. They're going to help us tremendously. Tyrese Whitaker came to our camp and was just dominating in his pass rush. And, you know, with the style of defense that we run, you know we love pass rushers. And so he's going to bring a lot to the table here, and it's great that he's going to stay home and play for Philly.
All right, well, Coach, last year we were sitting here in February talking somewhat theoretically about your vision for the Temple defense, philosophically what it meant to you, kind of how those signees were a part of it. Now we've seen it on the field for a year. We've seen this group come in. As we look ahead to 2023, you know, what is your vision moving forward for Temple, what Temple defense is going to mean?
Well, we made some huge strides this year, and I'm very proud of that. But we're going to grow off of this year. We're going to build off of this year. We're aiming even higher for next year. You know, we constantly want to be creating havoc against the offense in the backfield. Sacks and TFLs is our philosophy. So we're going to continue to harp on that. But we're going to fine-tune some other things on defense that we got to get better at in the offseason. And I'm very excited about it. Not only did we make some huge strides, but we got everybody back for the most part. So we're going to have great experience next year, and we're going to represent Temple in a very, very positive way.
Coach, congratulations on a great signing day, and I know that we are looking forward to seeing Temple defense take the field this fall at the Link.
Thank you very much.
All right, that is DJ Elliott joining us here on Signing Day Live. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll be joined by Temple Special Teams Coordinator Adam Shire. But first, we're going to catch up with Temple offensive lineman Wisdom Quarshie, who is Temple's representative on the American Athletic Conference SAC Board. He caught up with our own correspondent Morgan Uber earlier this season for a conversation about what his work on the American SAC team entails.
Wisdom, look at you first here. What does SAC and its mission mean to you?
SAC and its mission mean to me is it's a really big role. What SAC means to me, it's a voice for student athletes to be heard. You know, it's an opportunity for student athletes to be presented. You know, given any situation on campus or off campus, I feel as though student athletes should be heard in a very important role. And his mission to me is that student athletes should be served. And, you know, as we give back to our school, I think it's important that student athletes, you know, are presented with every opportunity on and off the field or court.
David, why for you were you interested in being a part of SAC there at Memphis?
Yeah, I got offered early when I got here, and it looked like a great opportunity to get involved with the campus. And then once I got into it, I really realized how big of a role it was. I got to meet a lot of people who have been in it for a while, and it's just a great opportunity to represent student athletes at our university, and have our voices be heard and help improve student well-being and our student athlete well-being, and just make our experience the most it can be.
Both of you mentioned the student athlete voice. When you think about some of the things that you've been able to learn through SAC, how have those leadership qualities really improved how you've been able to serve as a teammate in your locker rooms? Wisdom, we'll start with you.
It taught me how to be more aware of my surroundings when it comes to my teammates. It shows that your teammates should be more heard. Also, it allows me to be understanding and take my communication level to my communication game to the next level when it comes to, you know, being a teammate and trying to hear my teammates the best I can.
Thank you guys so much for taking the time to join us to talk a lot about what you do off the field. We see the exciting on the field play every Saturday, but really, really great to hear all the special things that are being done off the field with SAC. David, Wisdom, really appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back, everyone, here on Signing Day Live. We are joined now by Temple Special Teams Coordinator Adam Shire. Coach, thanks for taking some time to chat.
Thanks for having me on.
All right, well, adding to the room here with the specialists, before we get to it and talk about who is going to be joining here in 2023, I want to get your perspective because, again, as we've gotten the chance to chat throughout the season, your position is so unique. In addition to coaching the tight ends, you're coaching the special teams, and you get to work with so many different guys in this building in so many different capacities. Just your sense of the progress that was made throughout the 2022 season, your first year here at Temple, and kind of what your hopes are moving forward.
Yeah, it was a good first year. I certainly think we left some plays, we left some yards on the field, but the buy-in, the commitment from the team, from the staff, obviously from the head coach on down has been great, and really looking forward to year two, certainly starting with off-season conditioning and getting into spring ball, but just taking that next step on special teams. Have to be more explosive, and I know that combination of the young athletes we have and the guys we'll be bringing in will add to our special teams production come 2023.
All right, well, to that end, at punter, you had a grad transfer coming in, Mackenzie Morgan, who really finished up, I thought, his career in fine style, and you continue the tradition, which has become widespread now, of bringing in another Australian kicker, Dante Atten, joining the program here for 2023.
Yeah, Dante will be my fifth. I'm very excited to work with him, get him on campus here in January. He will be the youngest of the Australians I've ever coached, so really excited to work with him, help develop him. He has got very quick feet and a very strong leg, and he's going to fit very well with what we do schematically, what we'll be able to expand to schematically. Really excited to get him here in January.
Well, and we should mention, as he comes to us from Australia, he's got his full 4 years of eligibility. So it's not like Mackenzie Morgan where you come in, you know, he's got some collegiate experience, but the flip side is you only get 1 year with him. The chance to develop, I'm sure, and you know, potentially build him throughout his career, I'm sure has to be pretty exciting.
Yeah, it'll be, you know, his first snaps this spring will be the first time that he's probably lined up behind a punt protection unit and caught a snap with a rush coming at him. So really excited about that process with him.
Coach, you know, overall, as we've talked with some of your colleagues, and we're going to hear momentarily on the show from the head coach, Stan Drayton, just your sense of, again, the growth and the progress that was made, you know, in your first year here, and that the staff was able to make as you kind of came in and had to hit the ground running and kind of build the plane as you were flying it. You know, how different is it to get set going in with this signing class? You go into a full off season and go into year two. You know, what kind of a difference can that make in terms of the trajectory of this program moving forward?
Well, I think last winter and spring, it was all new. There was the trust building process, the feeling out process. And I don't think that really got to the point where it needed to be until maybe midway through the season. But year two, there's belief now, there's trust. I mean, it didn't necessarily show in wins and losses, but just look at the scores. The progress we made, which is easier to look back at now that you're removed from it. You know, the in-season, week-to-week disappointment of losing a close game is there. But when you step away from it and look at it big picture-wise, we made so many gains, so much growth, so many small victories along the way, and to take that belief and trust into the offseason, this offseason is going to be so much different. We're going to get after it. We're going to push these guys to another level because they believe us now and they trust us now. And we were close, and not that that's good enough, but going into year 2, so excited to get started. Can't wait to get back in January. Can't wait to put the pads on in end of February and March and April and see what the 2023 version of this team can look like.
Well, Coach, congratulations on signing day. All the best as we look forward to what's ahead, both for Temple special teams and the program as a whole.
Appreciate it.
All right, well, we talked about Dante Atten, who is going to be joining the Temple program from Australia, following in the footsteps of Temple's punter from 2022, Mackenzie Morgan. And earlier this season, we caught up with Mackenzie to talk about his journey from Western Australia to Philadelphia. Let's take a look.
So I grew up playing Australian rules football, which is the #1 sport in Australia by a long, long, long way. So if you had have told me 10 years ago that I'd end up in the US playing American football, I would have said, you're crazy, you're an idiot. I want to play Australian rules and I'll play Australian rules. So growing up, I played that, doing a plumbing apprenticeship. 4 years later, I was like, you know what, I still got the itch to do something with myself. I was 20, just turned 21 at the time, and I said to my dad, I said, I think I want to go do this Pro Kick Australia thing, like go punt in the US. Trained for 9 months, and 12 months later, I was at NC State. I went back to Australia, funnily enough, from December last year, and I was actually training again with Pro Kick Australia, just fine-tuning and looking for a school. Trained there for 6 months, and Coach Shire called me and we chopped it up, and then he offered me a scholarship, and I was never going to say no to coming here because of the relationship that Coach Shire had with my good friend Adam Korzak, who's at Rutgers. So he had been at Rutgers for the last 2 years with Shire, and Korzak said that he was the best bloke ever. So I was never going to turn this place down. When Coach Shire actually called me, I remember I was sitting there in the living room, and I said to him, I was like, mate, I literally said this, I was like, mate, if I burst into tears here, like, I'm sorry. Because it's been a very, very, very long journey to have a coach that calls you, wants you, is all about what you bring and your personality and your style, and just resonates with you. It's just, I can't speak highly enough of him, and the feeling of something in this environment in college football. The biggest compliment in college football is a coach that plays you and wants you and just accepts you for who you are. And I think that Coach Shire, I can't speak highly enough of him and how it made me feel getting the call. I'm forever grateful that I came here to Temple, and I can't begin to describe how much the place means for me. And I'm forever grateful I came here.
Welcome back, everyone. We are here on Signing Day Live now, joined by the head coach of the Temple Owls, Stan Drayton. Coach, thanks for taking some time to chat here on Signing Day.
Not a problem. How's it going?
Good. How's it going for you is the question.
It's awesome, man. You know, putting together a nice class of young men, so looking forward to the future of Temple football.
Well, we have talked, obviously, with each of your coordinators, and we've gotten to know this class a little bit more in depth. I've got to start you with the same question, which is, how much of a difference does a year make, right? You come in last year and you are just drinking through the fire hose, trying to get your feet underneath you, build a staff, get your family settled here in Philadelphia. To be here a year later, how different was the process of building this class, having the head start that you did?
Well, taking this job last year, December 15th on that signing day, right? There was absolutely nothing established from a relationship standpoint with the prospects that were out there and available to Temple. We had a coaching staff that was scrambling, just trying to get settled into their home, settled into the office, try to get a feel for what was needed on our roster. So there's a lot of unknowns. Just we were scrambling. It was a very uncomfortable situation that no one made any excuses for. But trying to identify the voids and making the right decisions and trying to eliminate the mistakes with the short period of time that we had was very challenging. I thought our coaching staff did a phenomenal job, even with that tight time frame of just trying to identify the prospects and the issues needed to be addressed on our football team. I thought they did a phenomenal job. We ended up getting a couple of high school guys. We were able to maintain some good people that were already committed to Temple. But our coaches did a phenomenal job of, hitting some of the JUCOs that we had to hit, guys that were very productive for us on the football field, identifying the characteristics and trying to really fit into what it means to be a Temple football player. I thought they did a great job. Now that we have a year under our belt, obviously the success of recruiting it's about the relationships you build along the way and over time, right? You're trying to, paint your vision to those prospects, and we're trying to make sure that they're going to be a cultural fit for what we're trying to do as a football team, and that takes time. And having a year to harness those relationships, bring them on campus, have them sit there and evaluate Temple football through the different phases over the year, right? The winter conditioning, the spring ball, the fall camps, and also, the season. They have an opportunity as prospects to see us grow as a football team. So you paint this picture, you tell them you give them a little prediction of what's going to happen, what to expect of our program, and when those things come to fruition, then the vision becomes real for certain guys. And obviously you could tell by the class that we put together that some guys really took a hard look at Temple, and they see themselves in cherry and white, and they're going to find themselves very productive for exactly what we're trying to attain as a football team. So we're very excited about where we are right now.
Well, and there's now a body of work that you can point to, right?
Absolutely.
There's some tangible results out there. And I know in terms of just pure wins and losses, this year is not what you hope to set the standard for moving forward. But we've talked about the word growth. And I'm wondering if before we kind of dig in a little bit more on this signing class, you can point to some of the building blocks and kind of the roadmap as it was laid out along the way this year, because there is now some momentum and some growth and some excitement around this program that now this next batch of 2023s, they're jumping on while the train has actually started moving from the station.
Yeah, we knew that this was going to be a tough go from a wins and loss standpoint, but we also knew that during the course of the year, we were starting to get more and more buy-in from our players, and leaders were emerging. And, a lot of things that were positive were happening, every stage of the way. And there was a lot of small victories behind, every game that we had. And the one thing that I'm most excited about for our football team is, we grew to a point where we were going to fight, and we weren't going to quit, and we were going to hold each other accountable. And those are traits of a championship team emerging. So very excited about the growth that took place. We had a lot of young players that played football for the first time. People like Jalen McMurray, who hadn't played a whole lot of football prior to us getting here, becomes a redshirt freshman All-American. Okay, so you get a young quarterback that fights through the depth chart, ends up being a freshman starter for us, and all of a sudden he's newcomer of the year. So these are things that we will build from. And there's so many more things that are not as shiny as those accolades, but there's a lot of little hidden things that, as a football staff, that our players are giving us a lot of things to be excited about. Just the growth of the individuals themselves, the belief that they have in themselves, the belief that they have in the vision of this program, the ownership that they're starting to take of this program. And, we're getting back to Temple tough. We're getting back to, all the traditions of what success looks like for Temple football, and it's very exciting. So to be able to bring our recruiting prospects through that phase of it and that teaching of it, and for them to see every little phase of that and that growth take place because we were able to articulate what was going on with those prospects. They saw it, and they see themselves fit for this place. And again, very excited about what we have coming to Temple, and I know they're cut right. I know they are made for exactly what we're trying to attain as a football program. And anytime you start to bring players from a winning culture, coming from high school and coming from their whatever junior colleges or whatever's going on nowadays in recruiting, right? They're coming from a winning culture. They got a winning mindset. And, hey, to me, that equates to winning on the football field at some point. So I'm excited.
Well, Coach, having the chance to see your team, to go through that year, assess the strengths, assess the weaknesses, the areas where you needed to improve, just tell me about how this class came together. Were there needs that you were looking to fill? What was the way in which you went about, bringing in this group and some of what you hope that this next group of Owls can do?
Yeah, well, we the things that were of need, right? We needed to make sure we had depth at the offensive line and defensive line position. That's always going to be where we start to build our program from a recruiting standpoint. We felt that we needed to get bigger, we needed to get stronger. We really tried to focus in on getting lift at the offensive line position. Coach Wiesenhan does a phenomenal job of cross-training those guys, but when you can get length at the tackle position, guys that are athletic, long, then you become a much better functional offense, whether you're throwing the ball or running the football. And that's kind of where we want to lie our focus there. Obviously, we need to get faster. We felt that, going into this league, that was something that we lacked. We came across a lot of fast teams. Houston has speed. South Florida has speed. ECU has speed. And, we felt that we needed to address that both offensively and defensively in our skill positions. We had to get faster, and I think we addressed that in this class. And, we just needed to get some guys that were going to help fill some voids and really create some competition in rooms. Like, we got really good linebacker core, but we need more, right? We got a really good running back room, pretty sufficient, but we needed more. We're going to bring more diversity, position flexibility in that room with the guys that we signed this year. So, I can go on and on and on, but those were the most things that just getting bigger, longer, faster is something that we had to address. Athletically, we got better that way in our back end skill position wise with the secondary. To be competitive in this conference, those were the things we really had to focus in on. So.
Well, Coach, obviously, there's a geographic component to it as well. Given where we're located here in Philadelphia, I know that's an important part of the identity and the culture of this program, but also you want to win championships, it's a national footprint as well. And I'm wondering if you can kind of take me through just that balance and how you approached that aspect of recruiting as well.
Yeah, obviously we're looking for the best football players that fit Temple, and we're going to start in our footprint. Every year we have an opportunity to do that. And so, I'm very proud of our coaches. We were able to, really get into our footprint of New Jersey, Pennsylvania. Florida has always been a footprint for us. We've gotten a good quality amount of numbers that are coming out of those areas, and we're excited about it. Even, our local area in Philadelphia is providing for our recruiting class this year, which is awesome. So, but I was really excited about how we were able to attract some talent outside our footprint. Getting some kids out of Georgia, out of Texas by way of the portal is something that is very exciting for me. They look at Temple and find out that that's a place where they can have success and continue their career, and that's exciting. So we'll continue to build. This is a very fluid process nowadays with all the stuff that's going on with recruiting. But our footprint is still providing a good bulk of what we're trying to get done here from a recruiting standpoint, and it's always good to be excited about that.
Oh, Coach, with all that said, you bring in these new pieces. We talked about the growth that we've seen, throughout the course of the 2022 season, and now all this excitement of welcoming in this next group. I know it's a long way off, but as you start to look ahead to the fall, to year 2 for you and for this program, what are your hopes for kind of what that next step forward is for Temple?
Championships. I mean, it's real simple. I mean, when I talk to these recruits, when I talk to our current players, we're planning the mindset of championships. And for us, that means that, we're trying to become champions both on and off the football field. And that won't change. Okay, this is what this program deserves. This is what these kids deserve. I think that everybody within this program is working toward that and deserves that, but we have to go get it. We have to learn how to win. We need to learn how to, we need to understand that winning takes place both on and off the football field, how we handle our business in the classroom, the decisions we make socially, the sacrifices we make for us as a football family. And everybody that I hope put that ink on paper understands what this is all about. It's about championships. It's going to be hard. And the moment it feels like it's getting easy, then I'm going to make sure it gets hard again, you know, because what we're trying to chase is not going to be easy, but it's going to be worth it. But the expectation is championships.
Coach, congratulations to you on signing day. All the best as you head into a very important offseason, and we can't wait to see what it all looks like on the field back at the Link this fall.
I appreciate it. Thanks for everything.
All right, that is the head coach of the Temple Owls, Stan Drayton. I want to thank all my guests today on Signing Day Live, Danny Langsdorf, DJ Elliott, Adam Shire, and of course the head coach of the Temple Owls himself, Stan Drayton. I'm Kevin Kopp. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you back at Lincoln Financial Field in the fall. Tonight's broadcast of Temple Football's Signing Day Live has been brought to you by the Philadelphia Federal Credit Union.